Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and with Christmas at the end of this week, it's end of year wrap up time. So we're going to be going over the best new knives from 2020, or at least some of my favorites. So let's get into it. So this best of list for the end of the year is going to be a little bit different in that these are just what I like. These things aren't ranked by any kind of score. Sales don't go into this. Impact on the industry don't necessarily inform every kind of ranking here. These are just the things that, after a whole year of seeing a bunch of cool new knives, these are things that still get me excited, whether it was released in January or right here in December. We've got stuff throughout the year, and really it was all about kind of going through everything, which is a lot. We saw a lot of knives here, and just going through it all and seeing what piqued me again, seeing what was still getting me excited and getting me happy. And that's how we arrived at these top 21 knives, not just folders, for 2021. Last year we did a top 20 for 2020. We're gonna keep it going.
What are we gonna do next year?
I have to wait and see, I guess.
Okay.
That's Thomas over there, if you guys are unfamiliar. If you're new to this channel and tuning in for this end of year stuff, he's a little snarky, but we like him.
So far.
Yeah, I think we like him. He's cool.
Give it time.
Like last year's video also, we're gonna break this down to keep it a little more manageable, because this is a lot of knives. We're gonna go 4 sections based off, three folder sections based off price, and then fixed blades will get their own slightly smaller section, at least in relation to everything else. We're going $0 to $75 bracket, which covers a pretty wide range from the true budget to the less budget but still pretty attainable stuff. Then we're gonna go $75 to $150, which is another kind of neat tier, and then $150 and up. Sky's the limit. So it's the wild, wild west, essentially. But we'll start with the budget stuff. And got them hidden here in the bags. And yes, if you're on YouTube in your browser or your phone, you can go down and see the list in the description, but that's no fun. Check them out after we take a look through here. And I'm not gonna rank each one of these necessarily either. These are just my 5 favorite budget knives, $0 to $75 for 2021. The first is a pretty new release. Find a place to put these bags here. The CIVIVI Cogent button lock flipper, coming in at a base price of about $70. And CIVIVI really knocked things out of the park this year. I mean, just the sheer number of releases they've put out in 2021 have been astonishing, and the fit and finish on them is exceptionally good, and the build quality, it's all there. Even the materials are pretty nice in this range as well. Could have had this, this section be entirely CIVIVI's, but it'd be boring. And it wouldn't quite be honest on my part either. The ones that truly excite me are like this guy right here, the Cogent. 70 bucks, like I said, 3.5 inches on the blade length, 14C28N steel, love that stuff. Choices of G10 or micarta on the handles, deep carry pocket clip, reversible, and that button lock. I mean, the button lock Elementum certainly took the crown in terms of sales this year, even though it's been out for a few more months than this knife has for sure. I really like this knife a lot better than the Elementum. The shape visually is a bit more interesting to me. I like the grind on the blade. It's a high flat grind. And I like that we've got that flipper tab, which the button lock Elementum doesn't have. And as such, you can do that all day long. Have a lot of fun with that. Certainly easy to access, works well in either hand, keeps your fingers out of the leading path of the edge when you're closing the knife. A little extra degree of passive safety there. Gotta love it. CIVIVI's always come with a nice thin edge too. Got this excellent slicing profile. Even though it's kind of a tactical shape, great EDC right here. All right, next up is a Kershaw. This is the Highball XL, and I really dig this knife too. As you can probably guess, since this is a video about knives I dig. About $59 for this guy. D2 blade steel, stainless steel frame lock, KVT ball bearings, and just a really elegant profile. Mixes a bit of kind of old school clip point shape on the blade with course, modern locking convenience and a more modern aesthetic as well. Speaking of that aesthetic, it kind of has this vibe that's going to work across a pretty wide range of things. Just basic EDC, or even slightly gentlemanly as it gets slightly fancier look going on, thanks to kind of the blue accents that you get, including this over travel plate at the back, as well as the back spacer. I mean, I think the Sebenza especially has really kind of codified the matte metal with blue accents as being a bit classier, and a knife like this can kind of trade on that heritage a little bit, even though it's an unrelated knife. Deep carry pocket clip, again, just like that CIVIVI, keeps things nice and subtle, and a lot of fun to play with too. The action here is great. You may think it's just a two-hand opener since we don't have a flipper tab or a pair of thumb studs, but you've got these dual fullers essentially on both sides, means thumb action works excellently. Like, you wouldn't even know you're missing something there. And it's even got just enough purchase here. You can do that middle finger flick thing with these guys. Works really nicely, really elegant shape, good slicing profile, which is something I definitely appreciate. It's kind of one of the things I tend to prioritize overall, which you're gonna see a little bit of as we go through some of the next picks as well. Next one, a little bit different. Not quite as efficient of a slicer, but the new Becker BK40 made by K-Bar now stands in my mind as one of the better options in a sub $50 price range. This is a $40 knife for a good, slightly heavier use outdoors knife, or just all around utility blade that you don't have to worry about babying whatsoever. It's a really solid design. Blade length, 3.5, AUS 8 blade steel, so you've got some stainless qualities there, and a handle that's based on the Becker mid-size fixed blades, such as the BK16 or BK18. As such, one of the few folders anywhere that actually has an ergonomic hand swelling or hand filling grip with the swells going on here. Nestles in there really nicely. Hard to find at any price, much less a very affordable knife like this. Solid design for any of those uses I mentioned. You've got kind of a clip-pointed sod buster style to the blade shape. You've got a wire pocket clip, which works in 4 different positions, so you can carry it just about any way you like. You've got a liner lock to keep things secure. You've got washers rather than bearings, good for the heavier duty, kind of gritty environments. Altogether, pretty basic, yes, but super reliable and super affordable as well. All right, next up is a Kizer. This is the Kizer Infinity. And honestly, this one could have been any number of Kizers, but this is kind of representative of just how many good things I've seen from Kizer this year in their more affordable price range. We're seeing things that you previously only saw on some of their more expensive stuff trickling down into prices like this knife right here, which comes in at $59, such as contoured micarta handles, ball bearings in the pivot, N690 steel on this particular guy, and a very elegant shape. But more than that, they've been built extremely well. I think, as I mentioned at the top, CIVIVI has kind of been, dominating the budget landscape this year especially, but these last couple of years due to their high value from their fit and finish and designs. And it's really good to see Kizer kind of answering the competition and coming out with models that, in my mind, more than compete. This knife right here is put together fantastically, especially when you consider that price. And you guys know me, I like continuous curves, nice flowing lines to a knife design, which is why I picked this particular knife to represent the Kizer budget lineup this year. Blade length, just under 3 inches, and N690 like I mentioned. It's got a cool elliptical shape, kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Canadian belt knife a little bit. But you guys know I love my fixed blades as well. The contouring and the swell on the handle there works really nicely. The linen micarta feels great. You've got a deep carry pocket clip. You've got ball bearings, and this is one of the few front flippers that can actually flip. But you guys know I'm never the best at that either. So all in all, definitely a win from Kizer. All right, I said I wasn't going to kind of rank these from like 5 to 1 in each category, but I am gonna award a personal favorite for this category. And if you've seen some of the videos we did earlier this year, this should probably be no surprise to you guys. It's the Badlands Vagabond from CIVIVI, another CIVIVI knife in this price bracket on the list today. This knife is only a $40 knife, but the design elevates it beyond that price point. Simpler materials, yes, we've got FRN handle scales, but the advantage of that versus G10s on knives this price range is you get some of that contouring. It's not just a flat scale. You know, even that Cogent, which is a great knife, just has flat G10. This Badlands Vagabond feels so much better, or just feels so good in the hand, I should say. And the whole knife has a great, elegant, agile feel to it. Everything you really want from a smaller EDC pocket knife. 9CR blade steel, which is metallurgically something like 440C, about 3¼ inches long. Again, CIVIVI always gives you that nice, thin edge, hollow ground in this case. You've got your choice of flipper or thumb studs for the opening action. Both work great. Pops open really nicely, as you can see, ball bearings in the pivot. Deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible, hidden lanyard point. Really, I can't say enough good things about this knife. In my mind, for folks looking for a budget knife right now, this is on my short list of recommendations and pretty much sits at the top, I'd say. All right, now we're gonna get into our next price bracket, which is the 75 to 150 category. And again, covers a pretty broad range. And as you're gonna see with a couple of the models I'm gonna show here, there's a little bit of flex into this less expensive category too. And truth be told, I've been more excited this year by the budget knives that have come out versus the more expensive knives. Because when money's no object, you can do anything and achieve greatness. It is a lot harder to be great in the budget side of things, both due to the monetary constraints and due to the stiff competition these days. So when I say some of these knives flex into the less expensive category, I'll show you exactly what I mean with the first knife I show you here, which is the new Kwaiken Air Mini from Boker and Lucas Burnley. I picked this particular version, or I put it in this price bracket because the particular version that most appeals to me is this one right here, which comes in about 82, which comes with Cocobolo handles. But there are G10 versions of this knife that are less than 75 bucks. So even though the range starts in that lower price bracket, this one, because it's the best in my personal opinion, sits it in this category. Really cool to see this knife. I've kind of seen this as a reply to something like CRKT's CEO. And with the way production timelines work, I can almost guarantee you this is, I don't have any insider knowledge, but this was definitely in the works before CRKT unveiled their CEO flipper. So Boker saw the original CEO with its clean lines, nice slender profile, and said, we should get Lucas Burnley to modify his Kwaiken into a slimmer competitor to that. You've got the Mini, which is about that size, and then you've got a bigger size as well. And it's awesome. The Boker Plus line, especially when they do this kind of treatment, always feels more premium than its price. You've got good materials. You've got a nice horizontal satin grain on the blade. That right there elevates the appeal of it and just the impression of it. You've got a nice slender profile, great gentleman's executive knife, deep carry pocket clip. Only the flipper tab sticks out when the blade is closed. Flips open really nicely. You've got an excellent, elegant shape. Good slicing characteristics, good day-to-day usage. I always say if a knife looks like it's gonna make a good letter opener, probably has some good vibes for a gentleman's knife, and this is no exception. All right, so this next knife also kind of straddles the line between our first price bracket and this one, because the most inexpensive versions of this knife start at 70 bucks. But this version, I think is the best. And that's the CJRB Scoria. This version right here is a KnifeCenter exclusive with pack-a-wood handles and an RPM 9 blade, and the price on this is 80 bucks. Really excellent design. As soon as I saw this at Blade Show, we knew this was a contender for one of our next set of exclusives, and we wound up being able to launch our exclusives at the same time as the standard model, which was pretty cool. Blade shape, just about a perfect drop point. My favorite blade shape, 3.5 inches long. That RPM 9 steel is a budget powder metallurgy steel, which is something really cool to see. Proprietary to CJRB and Artisan Cutlery, their parent company. Really excellently executed handles too. What I really like about them is you've got height on the side profile to make sure you've got enough to hold on to, but they've kept it fairly slim, so it's not bulky in the pocket. You could always get a bulkier handle that isn't this tall that'll fill the hand well, but for the types of duties you're gonna want this type of blade to handle, this type of solution works so well. Liner lock is inset, nice premium touch there. You've got ball bearings in the pivot here. Again, a flipper and a thumb stud, pair of thumb studs, and even a milled titanium pocket clip on this version with some nice gold accents. Another kind of gentlemanly option here too. A little bit of a flex in between gentlemanly and just more general purpose, less fancy EDC shape, so to speak, but it works great. We've got a handful of really good versions, including a couple exclusives, but even if you go with the standard model for 60 or 70 bucks, whatever it was, really fantastic EDC design. All right, next, let's get into another handle material. We had some wood and wood-like products here to start with in this bracket. Let's go with some FRN. In this case, this was actually a hard one to do. There were two Spydercos that I was debating between wanting to put on the final list. The other one was the straight spined stretch in K390, but in the end, gun to my head today anyway, I'm choosing the Salt 2 in LC200N. And kind of the reason for that is this is one of my favorite versions of the Delica. Yes, it's not the Delica per se, the scales are not interchangeable, but it's the same shape to the handle. It's almost the same blade shape. It's got a little bit more of a sheep's footy flavor to the tip of the knife. You have a little more drop, so it's a little less acute. But I love that LC200N steel, especially with the full flat grind you get here. Slices well, virtually rust proof, and some good toughness as well. And the handles, like I said, same shape, but to compensate for one thing, they removed the interior full-length liners, and that removes weight a little bit. And to compensate for the strength, they thickened the handles a little bit. And the result is really nice. It has a little bit more girth in the hand. Feels like you might be able to, or you'd be more comfortable pushing it a little harder. And the whole thing comes in super lightweight. I mean, we're dealing with about 1.9 ounces right there. Awesome. The green, I love that. You know, I've said it before, you kind of get tired, especially working at a place like this, you get tired of seeing every knife come in just a black handle. I like to see things spiced up a little bit, and I love this color. It's gonna work great for keeping it looking more like a tool rather than something that, you know, you might get some askance glances from some folks out there. I just love it. It's everything that makes the Delica great, with those kind of cool changes, like the lighter weight, the thicker handles, the virtually rust-proof steel. You've still got the mid-mounted backlock, the 4-position pocket clip, enough handle length to get most people through the day, and enough blade length at just under 3 inches to get most people through the day as well. Keeping with the synthetic handles, this next one, very different beast. The Drop Point Voyager 4-inch version from Cold Steel. There's a 5.5-inch version too, but I like the 4-inch version. 85 bucks for these guys. So it really maintains the kind of Voyager identity of being a working man's workhorse knife. And now with this drop point blade shape, it pulls it away from some of the kind of tactical flavor just a little bit that this series has always been known for, and you've got an even more workman-like blade going on. I love the shape. Again, kind of like that Kizer we looked at before. There is a little bit of elliptical shape to the drop point. You can see there's a little bit of an upward angle on the steel there, which is AUS 10, by the way. It's just a really nice shape. Good cross-section for, or the kind of things I like to see anyway, on a heavier use folder in that the steel is not super thick, but it's a bit thicker than some of the, something like that Salt 2, for example. But a bit thicker for enough strength, but you've got a tall, flat grind to maintain some of the slicing capabilities. Really like that. You've also got plenty of handle length for most folks. You've even got a space here. It's not a finger choil, but at the ricasso of the blade and the leading part of the handle, you could choke up on there to get a little better close-in work with that blade. You've got the triad lock as well. So even though you've got an injection molded handle here that does have a lot of grip, you've also got pretty much, according to Cold Steel anyway, the strongest lock on the market. And if it isn't the strongest, it is right up there as one of the strongest anyway. Nothing to complain about there. Looks like a backlock, but under the hood improvements make it even more stable and even more long lasting. Hard to ask for more of a hardworking knife for 85 bucks, quite honestly. Last but not least in this category, and probably my favorite, is the new SOG-TAC Autos. Really like what they did with this series. They've slimmed it up with these aluminum handles here. It's gonna carry very easily, so if you're looking to daily an automatic knife, gonna be a pretty good option. They've also, now that more companies than just Benchmade can do crossbar locks, this is one of the few other automatic crossbar lock knives out there, and the way they integrated the functionality of the lock with the safety here, I think is ingenious. Like, it's the kind of thing that you see and other people should be going, why didn't I think of that? Because right now the blade is locked. It's not coming open until you pull back on that crossbar just a little bit, and now you can see the red dot, which means the blade is ready to fire. Actually, you still can't pull it out, but now you just pull back on that crossbar the rest of the way and it launches the blade out. Really, really cool, because there's only one motion to go through if you decide to lock that blade further in your pocket. There's no spine mounted safety or extra switch to use. If you need to draw this knife and get the blade open in a hurry, you can do it, even if the blade is extra locked. Really love that. Rest of the knife, let's describe it. About 150 bucks, right under our ceiling right there, $149.95 right now. You've got a D2 blade of 3.4 inch length. Get it in a tanto or a drop point. You can get it in a shorter length and an even shorter length still with like a little 2-inch version for California compliance. And that version still comes with a pretty full-sized handle as well. Really cool. If I were dailying an auto, you folks know I love my Kershaw Launch 1. It'd be hard for me to pick, quite honestly, between these two because they are such an excellent design, auto or not, for a daily carry knife. All right, now on to our 150 and up category. So sky's the limit. We'll stick with some tactical stuff to start. And the first one, as I move on to pouch number 2, coming in first is the mini Adamas from Benchmade. I love this little guy. It was really cool to see the Adamas family come back for this year, kind of re-engineered, tweaked a little bit for better ergonomics. Did I just say more better ergonomics?
You did.
Didn't mean to, sorry folks. But also an upgrade to crew wear blade steel. Definitely a huge bump up from the D2 these originally came with. It's gonna be tougher, it's gonna hold an edge longer as well, thanks to the particle metallurgy construction going on. Interesting thing about this list, like I said, these are my favorites. I bought an Adamas this year, but it wasn't a mini. I bought one of the full-size ones, not because I like it better than the mini, but I had more of a use for the full-size one than this mini. So even though I bought the other one, this one is actually my favorite. It maintains the feel, or kind of the attitude, I should say, of the full-size Adamas. Comes in about 212 bucks right now, and you've got, for a small knife, if you need something that feels chunky and overbuilt, it's not too chunky. It's still got a good blade profile overall, but if you need a small knife you can push hard and are willing to spend a little bit of money for a premium product, one of my favorites right now. Deep carry pocket clip, G10 on the handles, fills my paws really nicely. I do have slightly larger than average hands. I've got just enough length on there, so if you do have truly large hands, this might be a little tight for you. I mean, you might be running off the back. I wouldn't like that too much. Love the crew wear blade steel here. Love to see that and see more companies using that on production level stuff. 3 1/4 inch blade, tough coating, tungsten gray color in this case, but you've got another color too. Check out the full size if you want. That one also comes in a crossbar lock auto or a manual version, and the fixed blades are back too. Super, super awesome. All right, next up is this knife right here, the Andrew Demko Custom Shop AD20S. Now the AD20, the full-size US-made knives, the AD20 MG or MG AD20, not sure how they prefer, that did come out last year. This year the AD20.5 came out, a smaller imported version. The 20S has an important feature for me that got me more excited about it than I did about the more premium MG version last year, and that is you've got thinner blade steel than those versions. Again, like I talked about with that Voyager, this feels just about perfect to me. You've got enough thickness for strength, we're at about 1/8 of an inch there, but you've got a high enough flat grind that it is going to slice efficiently enough. Especially, it'll slice efficiently enough for a larger knife you would need to, or at least what I would want to use a larger knife for. Now here's where things get interesting. It's a $350 knife for the G10 handled versions. A little bit less, but not that much less for FRN handled versions. You've also got a D2 blade. So you are paying a lot for the materials you're getting here, but you're also essentially paying for the patent on this new shark lock, which is the little fin right up here. Works really well as a little thumb ramp in the standard grip right here. And then if you go to choke up, at least it's easy for me to put my thumb right in front of it. So it doesn't really cause a problem for ergonomics, but lets you flick the blade closed and open while keeping your hands free of that edge. Longtime viewers of this channel know that is also one of my favorite things that I look for in knives that I prefer to carry. You've also got a lot of strength with this design too. And here's the other thing I want to say. For a knife to be as expensive as this knife is and come with the materials that aren't as premium that it does and still have me as excited about it, that says something. I can understand if you would want to hold out for something with, you know, quote unquote better materials. I get that, but it's still here. It's still on this list because I think it is great. Even the jimping here actually is a really nice little detail. As a little aside, you've got almost a decorative pattern going on. It's almost like a file worked jimping in a way. Although I think when you're talking custom shop stuff, jimping is filed in typically, but you get my drift. Cool little feature going on. Feels great in the hand. Actually feels, going by memory here, it almost feels better than the full-size Adamas to me, even though I bought one of those knives. There you go, I dig it. I'm really glad to see that thinner blade steel right here. I mean, we had these last year, or the MG last year. It was a cool knife. I didn't put it on the list, even though it would have definitely been deserving. But that change to the thinner blade stock right there, it did something for me. What can I say? Cool knife. Next up, we have an Italian knife, and that is the Viper Turn. Now we do have an exclusive version of this that comes with jungle carbon fiber or jungle wear carbon fiber and a deep carry pocket clip, but I think this particular ram's horn version is my personal favorite. I just love the natural material on a premium folder like this. Price on this one about $218 right now. And I've talked about this knife a lot this year because the vibe of it, the attitude, the lines are just awesome. It has that vibe of being something you might see, or the blade shape anyway, something you might see a custom bladesmith hammering out and doing beautiful things with, but on a folder. You've also got really cool ram's horn handles on this one, behind that titanium frame and bolster too. Now, the versions without a pocket clip do come with a small leather belt sheath, works horizontally or vertically on your belt loop. You've got a mid-mounted back lock, crowned spine and crowned back spring and crowned back spacer, which is pretty cool. It's also one of the few lockbacks I know of that also has ball bearings in the pivot. And as a result, easy flickability going on here. M390 steel, 3¼ inches long. Ergonomics, it's not necessarily going to be a heavy user. This is more about being a style piece. And when it comes to something like that, that is still built exceptionally well, few out there can match what some of the Italian companies, such as Viper, are able to pull off. All right, next up is a real steel, and that is the Phasma. The more premium versions of it especially. There are D2 versions for considerably less money, but this one right here, M390 blade, comes in about 212 bucks. And as you can see, I two-hand opened this because there's no flipper, there's no thumb stud. There is a thumb stud version, but I really have been enjoying this particular version with no thumb stud and a fuller instead. I love the cleanliness of it. I love the effectiveness of this drop point blade with its very needle-like tip. You can do a lot of varied things day to day with a shape like this. The blade steel is thin enough, you've got a wide blade profile and a full flat grind, so your slicing is going to be good enough as well. You've got a frame lock with a very narrow cutout, which is something harder to pull off, especially on a production knife, and all the edges on the inside of that are chamfered as well. Not quite sure how they pulled that off as well as they did. It's really nicely executed. It's clean from the back as well. You've got a single barrel spacer there, nice fat gold one. Because you've only got two pivot point or two kind of screws on the front side. You've got that back piece and you've got the pivot itself. The stop bar is mounted from the inside. You don't have external screws there. Super clean, super attractive profile. Deep carry pocket clip, offset just a little bit to keep it off that lock bar. Super cool. You can one-hand open it. It's a little more deliberate than would be, if you're trying to do that all the time, you might want to go for the thumb stud version, but this one feels so good. I love it. But my favorite in this category is going to go to this next knife. And it is, I just realized I didn't go like crazy expensive on any of these. I mean, the $350 for the Demko is up there,
Okay.
but no like $1,000 flippers or anything like that. My favorite one comes in just under 200. We're at 195. And it is also, I think, the newest release, or the newest thing to land here at the KnifeCenter anyway, version 2 of the GiantMouse Sonoma. A lot of the reasons I love this knife are the same reasons why I love that Badlands Vagabond from our first price bracket. You've got an elegant shape. You've got an agile feel in the hand. It's narrow, it's sleek, feels great in the hand. You've got contouring, just like that, that injection molded knife at the beginning. Micarta in this case, you guys who know my Nordsmith brand know I like a micarta and green micarta and yellow kind of combo. We've got green micarta and brass here, kind of has a similar vibe to it. Deep carry or folded over wire pocket clip, which is reversible, inset liner lock, ball bearings in the pivot, nice clean profile when folded up, gonna live very easily in the pocket, flips open really great. We've got Elmax steel here with that high flat grind, crown spine going on, a little bit of jimping there, kind of 1/3 of the way out, so you get a little bit for your index finger if you're doing some tip work, maybe a little bit with the thumb if you choke up, although this choil is a little too small for my larger fingers. I love this thing. The sleekness of it is great. It's wonderful. I don't know what else to say. So that's it for the folders, you guys. So we're 15 into our top 21, which must mean we've got 6 fixed blades to look at.
Math checks out.
Good, because it's true. We do have 6 fixed blades to check out. Let me move my pouches here a moment. There we go. All right. First up, you guys know, regulars anyway, know that I love a pocket fixed blade. One of our better performing videos of this past year as well, I should say. And Boker, actually Boker had a really big year this year as well, at least for me. Probably one of my favorite pocket fixed blades you can get right now direct from the factory. It's the AK1. $240. It's a premium knife, but you do have a pocketable sheath. You've got an ulti clip stitched in, so you can set that in your pocket, lock it down over your hem, and that's not going anywhere, and it'll be very easy to access this little fixed blade right here. So this is a Solingen, Germany made Boker. This is not something that they've produced in China. You've got an RWL 34 blade, really cool powder metallurgy stuff. RWL, Robert W. Lovelace, in honor of Bob Lovelace, who is fond of ATS 34 steel, which is not powder metallurgy, but this is the powder metal version of that. Two blade shapes. You've got a drop point and this kind of modified Warren Cliffy thing going on. Thomas, what is it?
It's a reverse tanto.
We call it a reverse tanto on the website. It's a cool blade shape, and I actually do prefer this one to the drop point, again, even though I am a bit of a drop point freak in general. Love the geometry. Blade steel's thin enough. You've got a full flat grind. You've got a very usable tip. You've got burlap micarta handles, two different colors, in fact. I like the mustard color personally. Enough length for about a 3.5 finger grip for me. Enough to hold on to, enough thickness that you could push this through some heavier cuts without feeling like you're slipping off or anything like that. It's just rendered exceptionally well, and it's a pocket fixed blade. So it's already, like, the deck is stacked against or towards this, in my mind anyway. They came out so cool. Next up, I'm sure we're gonna put the sheaths for this. Thomas will put them over here. There you go. Next up is another Boker, and a much less expensive one. This is not a German-made Boker. This is one of the imports, although from Germany to here, it technically is an import also. It is another Lucas Burnley design from Boker, and that is the Cub Pro. The Cub has been out for a little while now, but it was previously fancier. It wasn't until this less expensive version came out that I really started to look at it closer. 90 bucks for this, and you're getting micarta handles and D2 blade steel. Good length on it, 3 3/4 inch long. And to me, this is going to make a great everyday fixed blade if you can carry something this large, because it's a bit slimmer. It's not a super chunky grip, and you've got a nice ambidextrous sheath, as you can see there. Going to be very easy to carry it as well. Blade shape is great for utility. It is obviously, or at least I don't know if it's obvious or not, but this is also supposedly a kind of hunting inspired design, and it's certainly going to work for there. But for me, what really excites me about the possibilities of this knife is potentially carrying it every day. It's just a great utility knife. The micarta looks great. The copper pins and hardware look great against it. And especially as those kind of patina over time, they're gonna look even better. You've got a little pop of red from the liners there. It is just so cool, especially partly because of the price too. Really compelling to me. All right, next up is another CJRB, and that is the Silax fixed blade. Really cool. They come in at about 70 bucks, and you guys know, in addition to being a fixed blade guy, I also do and enjoy a lot of cooking. And to me, this is an awesome everyday carry fixed blade kitchen knife in a way. When they introduced this, they were kind of trying to position this as an outdoor blade, and honestly, I don't really buy into that too much. Utility, certainly. Kitchen, even more so. You've got an RPM 9 blade. We talked about that steel already. Just over 5 inches. You've got enough length where this is essentially like a petty knife. Gonna be good for small station work where you don't necessarily need a full-sized chef knife. You've got a great profile to do pull cuts like a small sushi knife. You've even got a good profile for doing rocking cuts with it. It has a very gentle rock to the heel. It doesn't slam down when you hit the cutting board. It does have enough length there that you could certainly, and enough thickness, you could certainly use it for utility work. It's not a hand filling grip, but again, I don't think it has to be. That's not what it's for in my mind. G10, I happen to like this, this beige color right here, but you've got green, OD green and black. You've even got a Kydex sheath. So very easy to integrate into all kinds of different applications. You could take it on a camping trip for your food prep. You could take it on any kind of trip, especially if you're doing a rental and you need to ensure you're gonna have a good kitchen knife on hand for your food prep. You'll have it here. I think this is also gonna be a cool thing for some actual professional food workers. Thomas and I have worked in food service for many years, he more than I, and he's got someone in his family who still works in food service and likes to have a chef knife that she can have so she doesn't have to rely on what the cooks have abused. Throw a ulti-clip on one of these, which Thomas did, and it's very easy to carry around and always have this around. It's just the right size for that type of roll. It's small enough you can do the small stuff, except for like the really smallest paring knife stuff. It's big enough to do the kitchen-y chef knife type of rolls, and you can even break down some boxes and open pallet straps with it in a pinch. So really, really cool knife, especially again, at the price. Really dig that. All right, next up is the LionSteel H1, another Italian knife. And I'm not really a karambit guy, but this knife really does it for me. Check out that sheath, by the way. A couple different mounting options, real high quality. But the design of this is oh so cool. You've got a couple of different blade shapes. There's a drop point and this modified Wharncliffe here, or modified sheep's foot perhaps. And again, even though I'm more of a drop point guy, I like this blade shape personally. It's not the first karambit out there to blend a tactical karambit style handle with a more utilitarian blade shape, nor is it the most famous. I mean, like the Topps Cut 4.0 is a great example, but this one came out this year and I really love it. And does something that production company form, at least, I don't know of anyone else who does single piece handles like this. It's a single piece of micarta with a channel milled out so that the tang of the knife nestles in there and is then bolted into place. You get a bit of strength from that, yes, but more importantly on a knife like this is the comfort. No seams right here means no opportunities for those seams to raise a blister. And they also do a very good job of contouring the handles and shaping them so that they don't raise a hot spot through use either. Really like that. Blade length, 3 inches, M390 steel. Again, good balance between strength and slicing with that stock thickness and that full flat grind, almost full flat grind. Stonewash finish, my favorite blade finish. Comfortable. That crown spine is a very Italian trait. I've talked about the crown spines a little bit, but not in its relation to Italy. But they do it all around here. They do it inside the ring. Everything is super comfortable. In any of those grips, you might be using this blade, and it's gonna be a very awesome blade to mess around with and use day to day. All right, next up is an American-made knife, the new Pro versions of Buck's classic hunting knives. Case in point, the 119 Special Pro. 190 bucks, made in the USA, with a few key upgrades from the standard versions. First and most notably are those green micarta handles rather than the black phenolic that they use on the base version. Chunky, same kind of shape as the original, fills the hand up. Not the most agile shape overall, but very nicely done. And then the other big difference, S35 VN blade steel here rather than the 420 HC. Everything has been addressed. Like all of the folks who wanted a more premium version of this knife, didn't want the more budget-oriented materials, you're getting what you want with this guy. In addition to this, you've got some of their other, the similar style of hunting knives with the similar materials to the base version of this have also seen the upgrade to this particular configuration. Really nice. The sheath, I've always been a really big fan of because of the way they do the snap. As you can see right here, reinserting, the flap is out of the way. You don't have to worry about accidentally slicing it with the edge. And then when you wrap the flap around, it sits on the inside of the knife rather than kind of curling around. Usually they'd be curling around this side and snapping to the front of the sheath. What I don't like about that this thing addresses is those can kind of come loose if you get snagged on something as you're walking past a thing. This, just gonna brush on by. And then when you pop the snap open, it naturally pushes it out of the way when you go to draw the knife. So you don't even have to think about that. Love that design, and I love it even more now that this knife comes in it too. All right, last but certainly not least. In fact, I think this is my favorite knife of 2021, which surprises even me, because this knife, before I show it to you, has some things with it that I shouldn't like, that normally I wouldn't like. But this is the cool thing about working at the Knife Center, is I get to pick up pretty much any knife I want. And the knife you see in the pictures is not always, or the impression you get from a knife in the pictures can be very different from the impression you get from a knife when you hold it in the hand. Same thing, the impression you get from a spec sheet doesn't matter. When you hold it in the hand, what does it do? So for me, personally, David C. Anderson, knife, my favorite knife of the year for 2021, let's get it over with, is the new cold steel drop forged Bowie. I should not like this knife, people. It's not something that kind of fits into any of the uses that I need a larger knife for. Price on it, about 119 bucks, but it's straight up, it's a Bowie. It's more of a fighting knife. Look at me, I don't fight. I'm a lover, not a fighter, as they say. You've got synthetic stag inlays on the handle. Again, not something that typically excites me. It's got a cross guard at the back. So for outdoors uses, that's gonna get in the way, which might be where I would use a kind of Bowie knife. It's got an interesting cant to the handle, which again is gonna limit its usage for me for kind of choked up and carving tasks if I needed to use this for smaller things. But as soon as I picked this up, the very first time, I was pretty much head over heels, because the balance of this knife is astonishing. It is alive in the hand, which I've never gotten from any of Cold Steel's other drop forged knives in the series. They've always been exceptionally strong, but they've always felt like brutes. Not that that's a bad thing, but this thing dances when you hold it in the hand. It's just, every time I pick it up, I just want to be doing this with it. It's so great. The angles of the handle point it forward really nicely. The 52-100 steel is going to be super tough. The drop forged construction is equally going to back up that toughness, because you've got this huge, massive single piece of the steel. The geometry of the blade is going to work pretty well. It's fast, man. When you kind of swing this and throw it at a task, it just wants to go. It's super quick. It snaps forward as you use it. And with the efficiency of a grind like this, it's gonna slice through your stuff really great as well. I can't say enough good things about it, quite honestly. The sheath, Secure-X, you're probably familiar with a lot of Cold Steel stuff. Snaps in similar to Kydex. You've got plenty of lashing holes and mounting holes for aftermarket clips if you don't want to use the standard nylon belt loop. Pick one of these up, and I can't say I guarantee you'll be impressed, but I can pretty much guarantee it's not what you were expecting when you hold it. And for all of those reasons, and because of the reason that this makes me smile more than anything on this table, this is my favorite knife of the year. There you go. That's it. That's the top 21 knives of 2021, in my humble opinion. Let me know what you thought of my picks. I'm really keen to hear from you guys down in the comments. Really keen to hear your favorites from the year as well. If you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we'll leave links in the description, as we usually do, to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And the full specs on all these knives are going to be there. And if I missed any of the prices on these, it wasn't intentional, but obviously the full prices are going to be on those pages as well. Make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program while you're over there, because if you're going to spend your money on one of these knives today, you might as well earn some free money to spend coming up here in 2022. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.